guys, this is Blacklist of the Abyss, and you're watching my review for Strike the Blood episode 18. Now, I was going to do a live reaction to this episode, but towards the end, I accidentally hit the Windows button on my laptop, and the video got canceled. So, yeah, that's that ended that venture. So, yeah, no live reaction here. But so I've been trying to get back into doing them. But yeah, as far as this episode goes. There's a decent chunk of it that was comedy. Um, it started off with Sayaka yelling at Kojou because she and Himeraki can't get onto Vatler's boat because it's extraterritorial. So it's just they being part of the Lion King organization, they just can't go on board. They're not allowed to. Um, Sayaka before was hired to do a specific job with Vatler. So she was able to do it before, but not now. Now that she's independent of him, so yeah, they're stuck on the outside. So they just kind of sit on the outside of the boat for most of the time. Um, and then after that, we see inside the boat, Kojou ends up being approached by this guy Kira. Though he looks like a girl, and he acts like a girl. He has a girl's name, but hey, he's a guy. And he's also a blood relative of Lost Warlord, so yeah. He tells Kojou that he should go take a bath, even though it's appealing to think of him covered in blood. and then and then we see Lord Tobias, who is jealous of Kojou because of how much attention he's getting from Vatler. So these two are clearly into Kojou, and freaking Kira was blushing like the entire time. So these two are clearly into Kojou. Kojou's like in the bath later on thinking, I'm gonna pretend I didn't just hear any of that. Besides, what Vatler's into isn't important. Alright, so that was funny. These girls ended up coming in too. At first they were all in swimsuits. At first they told Kojou that they were maids, then they admitted that that was a lie, and they said they were really hostages, and that they were the daughters of royalty, I believe, in neighboring nations around Warlord's dominion, and their nations pretty much sold them off, and they decided that in order to get revenge on their nations, they would mess with the social order by having the children of the fourth progenitor. So, so Kojou, being the guy that he is, turned them down immediately, though he shouldn't have done that. What he should have done is acted embarrassed and let them be the aggressors, and then stop, and then let them do as much as they want without going too far, and then stop them then. Or what he should have done was suck their blood. He should have done at least that, get a couple more familiars or something. He should have at least done that. Doing something like that is something Himeraki and Sayaka would be like would have no choice but to accept. He should have at least done that, but he didn't. He just sent them off, which was disappointing. And after that, Asagi and Natsuki end up coming into the bath while Kojou's in there, which happens like all the time. Whenever guys are in the bath, women always in an open air bath, women always come in. So. It wasn't really that surprising. When I saw them still inside, though, like they were back to back, I was hoping something would happen with like what happened in Infinite Stratos Season 1, where Char and Ichigo were in the bath, in an open air bath together, but it didn't. I was hoping it might because, well, first Asagi asked him about what it is he's hiding from her, because she's been trying to figure this out for a while now, and she ends up thinking that the thing he's hiding from her is that he's into men, which was funny. And her reasons for thinking that are because he's on good terms with Vatler. The two of them are a little too good together. They're a little too friendly. And the second reason is because he's not interested in her body, and that was the trap right there. She got him with that because. Because he ended up answering that, oh, well, I never said I wasn't interested in your body, so now she's got him. Now she knows that he's interested. Alright, so she got him with that one. She trapped him there. Alright, and before she can really, she offers to disrobe for him, and he says no because he doesn't want her to hate him even though she's the one offering. Whatever. But when he's facing her, she ends up seeing his scar. So she decides to ask about that, but before she can get an answer, her talent ends up coming off anyway. And she gets embarrassed, blah, blah, blah. She didn't get mad at him, though, which she shouldn't have, because she literally just offered to do it anyway, so whatever. Um, but Kojou ends up getting a nosebleed. Then blood starts going in the water, and Natsuki, like, picked up some of the blood-soaked water and was looking at it. And I thought that was a weird thing to put in there. And I think there's something more to that. Because why have Natsuki pick up the water like that? Like, why? I don't see a point in that unless it's going to mean something later. Like, um, maybe later in the episode, she says that her body can't handle regular Natsuki's magic power, so maybe Kojou will use his blood to give her to do something so that she can handle the magic power that old Natsuki had, or something. I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm thinking that his blood is going to be relevant for Natsuki, though, at some point. I don't think he's going to suck her blood. I think it's going to be like what he did with Astarte, kind of. Well, then again, he kind of sucked her blood too. But I mean, like, he's gonna like give his blood to Natsuki, right, for something. I don't know. I don't know why. I think that's weird to have her pick up Kojou's blood-soaked water, or water soaked with Kojou's blood. I just thought that was interesting. But after that, the three of them are in this room together, and it was like a family setting almost. Kojou commented that Asagi really looked like Natsuki's mom there, and she said like, "No, don't say that, because then if that were the case, then you'd be the father." All right, and and it reminded me of Sword Art Online, because they did something similar with Kirito Asuna and Yui. The only difference is that this was done like 99.876% better than that. I literally just made that number up. Don't get well, I don't know. I don't really care. Right? The point, I just thought it was cool to see like that little family setting, and it was done better than Sword Art Online, since Asagi and Kojou actually have development. Uh, so, and Natsuki too, technically, with them. So yeah, it was cool to see that little family setting. But after she goes to sleep, she ends up waking up, and apparently Natsuki, she turned into Natsu-kun, okay? And apparently she's the backup avatar for Natsuki. Natsuki, she was pulling some like Tatsuya Shiba crap or something, like restoring herself to, like, she was restoring her old memory. That technically might be a spoiler, but forget about it. um, yeah, you'll forget it anyway. Um, she's tried to restore her own memory. So she said the process would take 2 hours. But her magic itself wouldn't be restored because, like I said before, her body can't handle it. But she said that if Kojou waited 10 years, then she'd be back to her original size and she might be able to handle the magic power, which got me thinking, how old is Natsuki? For some reason, the number 26 is coming to mind, but I think they might have said it like early on, but I don't remember. But even if she was in her 20s, 10 years would mean she would be 16 then, and she's definitely not 16. So like, how old is it that is it not that she returned to her original age, but that just her body itself returned to that, and then she grew older, but just never grew, like her body never grew past that. Like, I don't know, whatever. It's probably not that big of a deal. Maybe it is. I don't know, but probably not. Um, yeah, Natsuki ends up saying that stuff, and then Mogwai ends up showing up on the screen inside that room, the TV screen, and he tells Asagi, Kojou, and Natsuki, well, not really Natsuki, but he tells Asagi and Kojou about what's going on with the school, and that this phenomenon surrounding the school is negating the magic on the island, and the area that magic is negated in is slowly growing, which is bad because the island is man-made, and the structure of the gigafloat that's keeping it up, the magic doing all that is going to be negated too eventually. That, which would be disastrous, and the island would just like collapse and stuff. And that would be bad. Um, and yeah, after that, Vatler comes crashing in, and the reason he comes crashing in is because well, Himeragi and Sayaka were sitting outside the boat, and Vatler ended up showing up. And he mentioned that he mentioned the true reason why Himeragi became Kojou's observer, so he knows. It was like I think those guys in the Lion King organization were saying that her real purpose in becoming his observer was to become his queen. I don't remember why. I don't remember if they mentioned why exactly they wanted her to become his queen though. Um, but Vatler knows, and Shimiraki started to question him about that. But then the Dragon Slayer prison escapee guy showed up. Vatler started fighting him, but then he got his butt kicked, and that's when he came crashing in through the window. Um, and we end up getting a short scene of Mimori, Kojou's mom, seeing that Yuma has escaped. So after she woke up last episode, she decides to leave, and she uses her psychometry powers to figure out that. In case you don't know, psychometers, or however you say it, they have the ability to kind of figure out what has happened to a specific object. Like they can touch an object and figure out what exactly that object has done, what has happened with that object through through time, pretty much. They can just go back in time pretty much and see what was happening involving that object. And I would assume that Yuma was touching, well, she was still laying on the bed, and she probably said something about the Dark Oath Grimoire, because that's what Mimori ends up learning about. Oh, Dark Oath Grimoire. Oh, I see. And so I'm assuming Yuma was laying on the bed and mentioned something about the Dark Oath Grimoire, like how she had to destroy it or something, and then she got up and left. So that's how her powers let her figure out what exactly Yuma was thinking about, what her plan is. Um, but yeah, we end up going back to Vatler. He wants to fight the Dragon Slayer dude still. Um, the blonde loser from before that got embarrassed by Himeragi, that prison escapee, he shows up too. So Kojou just ends up escaping with Asagi and Natsuki. Um, and Sayaka ends up taking on what's his face, the blonde loser dude. Himeragi ends up leaving after that. Kojou and Asagi and Natsuki, when they're inside, they end up running into Kira. They leave, and they end up meeting up with Himeragi again. Oh, there was some comedy there too about Asagi still doubting whether or not Kojou was into girls. But yeah, Himeragi ends up meeting up with them, and she has her staff, lance, spear thing or whatever. But for some reason, that's not the thing that Asagi notices. She notices the nurse's outfit, and she ends up mentioning Kojou's mom, and Asagi notices like, huh, you mean Kojou's mom? Like, she was probably thinking something like, wait, why were you with Kojou's mom? What's going on here? Is there something I should know about? Are you two like really together? What's going on here? All right, so Asagi was probably having thoughts like that, but before she could actually tell us, I guess, before anything could legit happen, a Tank ends up showing up, or at least the girl who programmed Tank. I'm assuming it's the girl who programmed Tank. I'm assuming she doesn't like. I'm assuming it's not Tank herself, and then she like sends her brain and like she digitizes her brain and then becomes like becomes Tank within the system. I'm assuming that she's the girl who programmed Tank, just like Asagi's the girl who programmed Mogwai. And Tank she goes there to pick up. I forgot her real name. Doesn't really matter. I prefer to just use Tank. It's simpler. Tank picks up Asagi to bring her to the office or whatever, and she mentions that it's 10 years ago, all over again. That incident 10 years ago with the Ashdown, the witches of Ashdown, the Meyer sisters, with Aya, Dark Oath Grimoire. That it's the same event all over again. All right, the Dark Oath Grimoire incident. And yeah, so she decides to leave, and before she leaves, she tells Kojou that she'll only leave if he makes a promise with her to go to the festival together, which she says yes to. But then he did the typical freaking harem lead thing to do and say, "Oh yeah, all of us can go and have fun," which like that's something freaking Ichika or more would do. Like, how can the guy? I mean, Kojou isn't an idiot, so like. He says stupid stuff sometimes, and he does dense things sometimes, but he shouldn't be that dense. I mean, seriously. that was just annoying, but whatever. Yeah, Vatler ended up beating Natsu, the Dragon Slayer. Sayaka ended up beating the blonde loser dude. Kojou and Himeragi and Natsuki ended up meeting up with Sayaka after that. But Sayaka didn't know that Himeragi and Natsuki were there, so she started flirting with Kojou, and Himeragi had to go, and let her know, like, you realize I'm right here, right? So that was funny. And then Aya shows up, and she pretty much informs us that the area of negation for magic has widened to fit that area as well, where they're at, because Kojou tried to use his familiar Regulus arm, but it just disappeared. And turns out it's not just magic, it's supernatural powers in general. Alright, so the area is pretty much one giant Imagine breaker. Alright, so no one can use supernatural powers except for her, Aya. And she uses Le Ombre to stab Kojou through the chest. And Himeragi goes after her. Turns out her abilities are still working. So maybe it has to do with her staff, spear, lance thingy, negating the effects of the magic that negates supernatural abilities. Or either that or Himeragi's just special, which would be really main character-ish. But, who knows. Maybe that's it. There's something special about her, so I decides to kidnap her, as well as Natsuki, for an experiment, and which has something to do with the Dark Oath Grimoire incident and what she's doing all of this for. I'm assuming. I mean, why else would she kidnap them? Since she said she wasn't interested in killing Natsuki or anything like that, so yeah. And she leaves, and we're left with Kojou and Sayaka just sitting there. And yeah. Judging from the preview, it looks like Kojou's going to get a power-up, so probably he's either going to get a new familiar, or he's going to use one of his old familiar. What was the one that he got after Regulus arm? I completely forgot what it was called. I completely forgot. Oh well, whatever. Maybe it's that, because we haven't seen that in a while. Yeah, he's probably gonna get a new familiar. Though if he does get a new familiar, it's gonna be because he drank Sayaka's blood again, or Yuma's blood, because Yuma's on her way to the school to stop the Dark Oath Grimoire and destroy it and stuff. So, not like she could do anything because she doesn't have her abilities. But whatever. Yuma's on her way there. Kojou and Sayaka will be on their way there soon as well. But yeah, that's it. Overall, I'll give this episode an 8 out of 10. I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, that's it, you guys. Rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.